Hi, everybody. My name is James Aguirre, and I'm so happy to be your students' mythology, folklore, and culture teacher this year. It's kind of how I reframe the course. And I'm just going to go over with you our basic class orientation that I shared with them the first week of school or so. So MFC, as I'm calling it, is we're just trying to get to know basically just the stories of other peoples. Mythologies are based in very kind of cosmic, kind of otherworldly, kind of supernaturally. Folklores are based in the lores, the stories of people, so they're more pedestrian, kind of this world. And then, of course, with those is we want to talk about all of these different cultures. We want to talk about ancient peoples to current peoples. We want to use nonfiction and fiction. So this is a little bit anthropology. It's a little bit of an English course. It's a little cultural geography. But we're really trying to get to this core message of how even though we're all different, we're all actually as the same as we are different. Of course, this is our 12th grades English class. So we're going to be working on the reading, the writing, the listening, and the speaking, and making sure that everybody feels really good as they move off into the next part of adulthood. For all of our units this year, we're going to be talking about creation myths, religion, and belief systems and stories. But we're also going to get to that great cultural aspect of different peoples as well. Of course, food, music, dance, art. We're going to look at some modern voices to make sure we know what these cultures look like today. And of course, because these are young people, we want to make sure that we're also learning about the experience of young people transitioning into adulthood themselves. A little bit about myself. If I look vaguely familiar to you, it's actually I've been teaching at Homestead for 15 years. I've been teaching for 17. And my last name is pronounced Aguirre, or Aguirre. You can see some of the pictures here. This is kind of what I'm all about. Again, my former name is Ratty, so I actually taught some of your students sophomore year during our remote year. So I'm super happy to be back teaching them in person. And my last name changed because I just got married this last February. And so I went through that whole process. But I'm really excited to be here, get to know them, and just kind of share some of who I am with them as they share themselves with me. We also want to make sure that we're talking about our classroom environment. And so we chatted about all of these things together. We want to make sure that we're listening actively, that we're using non-hurtful, non-violent language. The big thing I'm looking for seniors is that we are prepared and we are using our resources, so preparation and agency. I had everybody fill out a class roster, so everybody has contact information for dozens of students in my 5 classes. I'm teaching 5 MFC classes this year, and just really making sure that our students are finishing strong. It's easy to kind of like blow senior year off. I think our students are under a lot of stress, especially with college applications, but really just making sure that we're being cool, we're keeping it together, and we're finishing with a little bit of integrity. Here is just an overview of what I think our units are going to be this year. I'll be transparent in that I have not taught this course before. I've taught a lot of sophomores, I've taught a lot of juniors, American Lit, and I'm also one of our school's avid teachers. So I've been doing a lot of research and a lot of work over the summer to prepare myself for teaching this subject. I'm really excited to share these units with our students. We're going to start with indigeneity, which just basically means nativeness around the world. Turtle Island is what we refer to as North America, so I want to make sure that we get into some native, local, indigenous culture. And then we'll be chatting about Aztlan, which is the mythical home place of the indigenous Mexican people that still exist today, of course. And then, of course, I want to talk about indigeneity in other parts of the world, especially in what we now refer to as Australia. We'll then finish first semester talking about European history. I think a lot of our students are familiar with a little bit of Greek, a little bit of Roman mythology, but I want to make sure they're exposed to other mythologies as well. Of course, Norse mythology, particularly with Thor, is really popular right now, so we're definitely going to get into that. And then we're going to talk about our kind of like Celtic and our pagan roots as well, looking to see how these cultures have influenced our kind of like modern day culture today. We'll then spend some time in MENA, or the Middle East, North Africa, and Egypt in particular, and then in Western Africa. And this starts second semester. There are so many cultures throughout all of the Middle East and North Africa, so I want to make sure that we get into some Egyptian, some Persian, some Hebrew, some Arabic, different cultures, and really look at all these different kind of mythologies that exist. And then Yoruba land, as you see here, that is referred to as the that kind of western coast of Africa, where most Black Americans can trace their lineage to. And so we're going to get into the old histories and the old stories of these people that obviously still live there today. We'll spend a good amount of time in Asia, our largest continent, of course. I want to make sure that we get into the subcontinent, looking at ideas from Buddhism, Hinduism, talking about samsara, the various gods, everything like that. We'll spend some time in Japan. We're going to watch and dissect a great Miyazaki film, Princess Mononoke, talk about the forest spirits. We're even going to spend some time talking about and playing with Pokemon in class, since Pokemon are based off of Chinese, Korean, and Japanese kind of folklore. And then making sure that we pay some homage to our brothers and sisters in the Pacific as well. And then I'm not quite sure how we're going to end the year. I want to be very thoughtful about how our seniors end their experience in K-12 education. I'm thinking of basing it around an aspect of Americana, of American culture, as most of our students are going to stick around the United States for college and life. So really looking at some of the roots of who we are and why we are. So I'm really excited for those units. We're going to talk about religion this year, but we're talking about religion in an anthropological kind of sense. I don't personally come from any religious background, so I really truly am coming at all of these faiths, all of these belief systems from an objective standpoint. I'm not talking about how any particular belief system is like, the quote unquote right belief system, because of course our students are so diverse. I want them to be able to talk about their own backgrounds in religion and culture and things like that, so that we can talk about these things in a mature, respectful manner. Because there are so many options for seniors to take English classes, I think there's 5 options for them. We do want to make sure that there are some projects, some assignments that all of our seniors do regardless of what flavor of English class they take. For example, you'll see this first bullet point right here. All of our students are working on reflective writing guidance, practice, and feedback. And this is primarily used for our college application season. We know that our seniors are really stressed out with college apps at the moment, so we're trying to help them with that stress. And so my students, for example, they're working on peer review this week. We've been doing a lot of brainstorming. We've been asking a lot of kind of vulnerable questions. They're doing a wonderful job. And then they're going to turn in 3 essays for me to read and give feedback on this weekend. You can see some of the other assignments that our seniors do in common. We use a critical lens media research assignment. There's some independent reading, some book club type work, and then of course speaking and listening projects from throughout the year. Really quickly about grades, I am excited to be teaching seniors because most of them understand how grades work, and nothing is much of a surprise to them. We are working on getting back into school mode here these first few weeks, myself included. But just really quickly, if you go into the grade book on Schoology, you won't see any numbers or percentages. I just use letter grades for my grade book, and that's because I'm really trying to get our students to think about performance rather than points. And you can see my ABCD scale here. It pretty much applies to all of my projects. A really truly means advanced and innovating, really pushing themselves. B means they're doing better, they're being brave, they're pushing some boundaries. C means they're competent and they're passing everything. And D means they're really darn close in terms of getting their work in. And I always allow for redos for things that don't get passing level. I use a lot of rubrics. I share those rubrics with my students so they know pretty specifically what it is that I'm looking for. And everybody always wants to know, do I take late work? Yes, I take late work, but I'd like that late work to be pre-arranged. I make myself really available to my students. So anytime they can send me a message or an email letting me know what's up, then I'm happy to help accommodate. I know people are still missing some school. Anyway, that's pretty much how our class is going to work this year. We're off to a really great start so far. I personally, I feel very relaxed this year. I don't know if it's like it feels like a regular year because last year was still very nerve-wracking for everybody. I don't know if it's the age, like just seniors are kind of like go with the flow. Like I'm not used to this, quite frankly. But we're having a really great time. Really great kids. Good job. And I just look forward to hanging out with them all year long. If you do have any questions, of course, you can shoot me an email. I'll be happy to get back to you. And I hope everybody just has a really great day. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you take care.